Before writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva Bhakti. Srinvatam Swarkata Krishna,
Srinvatam Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana, Vidyantastoya Bhadrani, Vedunoti Saritsatam, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous from proper hearing and chanting. Nashtapaishu Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttamashloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki, my regular attendance in taking classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Yay!
Now, we have a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2. Where did it go? Okay. Canto 2, Chapter 5, entitled The Cause of All Causes. Oh, now my phone, it's easier to read. Text 12. Okay. By the way, since I'm here almost like the fourth time in a row, there's 3 different rotation systems, and one is for the weekly class, and one is for Saturdays, and one is for Sundays. And they all landed, this is the second time they all landed on me in the same weekend, so I'm not like all of a sudden taking over the place or anything, it just happened that way. Just reassuring everybody. So, this is my regular day. Okay, Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yan Mayaya Durjayaya Yan Mayaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagad Gurum Mam Vadanti Jagad Gurum Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yan Mayaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yan Mayaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yan Mayaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum Let's chant.
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yanmaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yanmaya Durjayaya Man Vadanti Jagat Guru
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yanmaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Yanmaya Durjayaya Mam Vadanti Jagat Gurum Tasmai Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya Dhimahi
Yanmaya Durjayaya
Mam Vadanti Jagat Guru
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi
Janmaya Durjaya
Janmaya Judayaya
Vadanti Jagadguru
Mam Vadanti Jagadguru
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate
Tasmai Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya Dhimahi
Vasudevaya Dhimahi
Yanmaya Durjaya
Janmaya Judayaya
Mam Vadanti Jagadguru
Mam Vadanti Jagadguru.
That's it? Okay. Word meanings. Tasmai,
Tasmai
unto him.
unto him
Namaha,
Namaha.
offer my obeisances.
Offer my obeisances.
Bhagavate,
Bhagavate.
unto the personality of Godhead.
Unto the personality of Godhead.
Vasudevaya,
Vasudevaya.
unto Lord Krishna.
Unto the Lord Krishna.
Dhimahi,
Dhimahi.
do meditate upon him.
Do meditate upon him.
Yet,
Yat.
by whose?
By whose?
Maya,
Maya.
potencies.
Potency.
Durjaya,
Durjaya.
invincible.
Invincible.
Mam,
Mam.
unto me.
Unto me.
Vadanti,
Vadanti.
they say.
They say.
Jagat,
Jagat.
the world.
The world.
Gurum,
Guru.
the master.
The Master.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, parentheses, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the Supreme Controller. Please repeat. I offer my obeisances
I offer my obeisances
and meditate upon Lord Krishna.
and meditate upon Lord Krishna,
Vasudeva,
Vasudeva,
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead,
whose invincible potency influences them,
whose invincible potency influences them,
the less intelligent class of men,
the less intelligent class of men,
to call me the Supreme Controller.
to call me the Supreme Controller.
Report. As will be more clearly explained in the next verse, the illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter any other person, as the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji, however, refuses to be called this, and he directly offers his respectful obeisances unto Lord Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as he has already offered the same respects to him in the Brahma Samhita 5.1. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchid Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaranam. The Supreme Lord is the personality of God, Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord in his transcendental body, the ultimate cause of all causes. I worship that primeval Lord Govinda. Brahmaji is conscious of his actual position, and he knows how less intelligent persons, bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord, whimsically accept anyone and everyone as God. A responsible personality like Brahmaji refuses to be addressed as the Supreme Lord by his disciples or subordinates. But foolish persons, praised by men of the nature of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, feel flattered to be addressed as the Supreme Lord. Why such persons take pleasure in being addressed as God, or why such persons are addressed as God by foolish admirers, is explained in the following verse. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, looks like this verse is leading directly to the next one. So, but anyway, for now, first thing I noticed a detail. So, as Prabhupada is saying Brahmaji, we always say Lord Brahma. Prabhupada is writing Brahmaji. I just sort of noticed that. It's like when you put G, and it's sort of like familiar and affectionate. So it kind of reminds us Prabhupada's actual position as a great pure devotee of the Lord. And you speak about Lord Brahma as Brahmaji. I don't think we're supposed to imitate that. We say Lord Brahma. But it was very interesting to me to notice that. So anyway, the main point here is Lord Brahma is is saying that he offers his respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and foolish people call Brahma God, but he isn't. That's his point. So Narada was asking, well, okay, are you God or not? That's the conversation going on here, and Brahma is saying, definitely not. So we think, isn't that sort of strange that what kind of foolish people would think that a created being is God? Well, for one thing, it's sort of understandable if you learn that Brahma is the first being and the creator of everything. In a certain sense, he's the creator of everything. And so then you think he must be God. So that makes kind of sense. But anyone and anything, anyone and anyone, everyone is God? Well, we don't in the West, because in the West we grew up with an impersonal idea of God. So therefore, if you see a person, it must not be God. So that idea is present. They did call Jesus God, and Prabhupada said he's a Shaktivesh avatar, an empowered avatar, sent down to preach, but not God, not Krishna. And his disciples actually tried to call Prabhupada Krishna. And they got kicked out for that. There's a whole story to that. There was a whole split and a whole fight and everything, and Prabhupada heard about it and he kicked them out, and they totally rectified themselves. And so, okay, you call me God, but if I kick you out, for saying that, I guess they found out how maybe their idea of God is too small. They can say what they want about him, and then Prabhupada, who isn't God, who's mad at them for saying that, has the power to kick them out and render them lost and bewildered and, crushed. So I guess they have a lot to learn. Anyways, we in the West, we tend to have the impersonal idea of God, so they got it down to where it's, the original singularity that contained everything and it exploded in the Big Bang, and then after that, everything took shape. So it's kind of nature is God. Nature created itself, and nature must be God. So it's true. Foolish people, lower class people, accept anything and everything as God. They're willing to get all kinds of ideas, and they think, Lord Shiva, who constantly meditates on Krishna, he's God. So they worship him as God, and he's in charge of destruction, and he gives material benefits. They don't think this through. Material benefits only last till I die. They don't think that through, so they think Lord Shiva is God, and so on. Or they believe in the goddess or some great personality. All different. There's been all kinds of histories in the world of different mistaken ideas of who God is. So here, it says in the first sentence, the illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter, any other person as the Supreme Lord. And why would the illusory potency, okay, it's illusion, but it's the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord. So why is this thing where you bewilder somebody to believe in a lesser thing? It's kind of a curious thing. Why would God do that? So, anyways, there's a whole system of why is there demigod worship, and why is it less than the best. So I'll just go to Bhagavad Gita 3:10. Let's read the English. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna," sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So it's a system that Krishna created to make things work in the material world. The material creation of the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa Sarvaya Aham Eva Vedya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns it is said, Patim Vishvasyat Me Shvaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. So, skipping down just a touch, the Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to form yajna sacrifices for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all degrees. Let's start to talk a little bit. The system there is created by Krishna. We say it in that first verse. Created by... Where did it say? It says something was created by me. Oh well, I thought I had that verse too. Somewhere Krishna says, one of these verses right in this vicinity says that Krishna says, this system is created by me. The Varnashram system he's talking about. And so it's created by him so that we can gradually elevate ourselves. And don't forget that most souls have been in the material world a long, long time. Through many creations, many cycles of yugas, many creations and annihilations and so forth. Been everywhere, up, down, and around. And of course there always may be some new souls, freshly out of the spiritual world, but mostly we understand that people have been circulating and circulating, souls have been, for a long, long time. So this description of the worship of demigods and sacrifices for them would be a chance to step up. Souls that have been in animal species, have been in Kali Yugas and everything, have been sense gratifiers, criminals, everything, have been everything. And so they have this chance when there is an age when these things can happen, they get in this situation where they can offer sacrifices. Now all the prayers for sacrifices start with Om. And Om means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even if that's all they get, they're doing these sacrifices for a demigod, and at least they're following some rules and regulations that if they follow these, they gradually get purified. If they're willing to worship somebody greater that they can't see, then that prepares them for worshiping Krishna. And saying Om, it purifies slowly. But it happens. So that's the system to elevate, gradually elevate these conditioned souls who've been in all the animal species and plant species and all the Kali Yugas, all kinds of Kali Yugas and everything, been through everything, getting elevated. Because the purpose of the material world is to bring us back to Krishna. Somehow we didn't want to serve Krishna, so Krishna says, okay, I don't want you to do this, but I will let you go in the material world. I'll give you all facility to try to be like me. And so they try and find all kinds of suffering. And if Krishna did not give them that, they would remain like stewing in some dark place. I wish I could be like Krishna. You could never make progress. But if we have this place where there's light from the sun, which comes from the Brahma Jyoti, and everything comes from the Brahma Jyoti, it's just transformed by illusion into some darkness, but there is light, and there is, in the first part of the Gayatri Mantra, we honor that there's the sun, and the sun is the light from Krishna. So we honor that, and because of that, we can see the world. Because of that, we can see that there's beauty. Because of that, we can start working out our desires, and we can also think, well, why is all this? And we can start thinking about God. Because there's sunlight. If there wasn't sunlight, could we do this? So Krishna has given all kinds of facilities. And first step of God realization is to look around in the material world and think of it as Vishnu's body. So it describes in detail how to do that. So you wouldn't just see the sun as the sun anymore. You would see it as Lord Vishnu's eye. And that way you start thinking about Lord Vishnu. Similarly, you say the Vedic sacrifices, it starts with Om. So you always say a Gayatri Mantra, it starts with Om. So, see, somebody challenged me, where did I hear that? I don't remember, but when I say Om, I'm thinking, what shall I say next? I'm consulting Super Soul in my heart, who's helping me speak. I don't know that I'm doing this, but that's what I believe is happening when people say Om. They're saying a form of Om, trying to figure out, okay, Super Soul, what am I going to say next? So, they don't know a Super Soul they're consulting, but I believe this is true. I read it, I know I read it or heard it somewhere, and I'm convinced it's true. And by my experience. So, then also, Krishna does not recommend demigod worship. because that's temporary. But in 7:10, he supports it. 7:21, sorry. 7:21. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady, so he can devote himself to that particular deity. Why did he do that? Why did he confuse us like that? So anyway, purport says, God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Supersoul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities. So, the answer, somebody asked why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Supersoul does not give such facilities, then there's no meaning to independence. So he gives full independence, but also he gives the faith in order to help us achieve our desires, because he's helping us. He's trying to help us. So he will show us, if you worship this demigod, it will work. So you can get this desire met. So if that's what you want, he will help you. But all the while, he's hoping that you figure out what he's telling Arjuna, that worshiping the demigods is temporary. Now, in Arjuna's day, it wasn't so far-fetched. It wasn't so odd to worship demigods. It was right in the culture. In fact, I just recently heard about a temple to Shiva that the Pandavas established. I'm sure it was not, and I guarantee you it was not because they thought Shiva was God, but to honor him because they know his position. And so they made a temple that, I don't know where I heard about it, or online or something, I don't know. But there's a temple that the Pandavas established to Lord Shiva. And we can visit those temples where we're supposed to understand that Shiva is a demigod. He's the topmost worshiper of Krishna. But but he's a demigod. He's not Krishna. So if we understand who the demigods are, we can respect them. But anyway, those who don't understand anything and they want something material, Krishna gives them the intelligence to go and worship this demigod, and he helps them with his faith. Helps. Not because he wants to be mean and trick us some more, but because he's trying to help us. And if we work through these things, the hope is on his part that we will learn to worship somebody higher. We'll learn good behavior, obedience to the rules and regulations of that worship. And we'll be that much more prepared to worship Krishna. And we're saying Om, we're saying a certain name of Krishna. And gradually get purified. So, but it's not recommended. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who worship the demigods are less intelligent. And so does Lord Brahma say, less intelligent class of men. He's saying, influences them. Did it say in the previous verse, the less intelligent men? Just says them. Somewhere it must say who he's talking about when he says them, because Prabhupada puts it in brackets. So, anyways, Lord Brahma refers to the less intelligent class of men who think he's God. And he's tolerating that, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't want, he would give him a chance. He'll speak against it. He'll say, I'm not God. This is God. Worship God. Worship Krishna. But he knows that less intelligent men will worship him for what he knows. So this is allowed for less intelligent men, that they at least worship somebody higher and therefore make spiritual advancement. And if that's all that they want to do is worship the demigods, they won't make any solid advancement. It just prepares them for Krishna consciousness. They can go back down again too. They can go through another Kali Yuga. They can go on another stint in the animal kingdom after their stint in the heavenly planets, should they manage to worship the demigod perfectly and follow all the rules perfectly. So it's hard to talk about this in a way and say something really, really exciting. But Lord Brahma is taking the advantage of Narada Muni. Narada Muni is taking the advantage of asking his questions so that this truth will be spoken. Now, a devotee will like to ask questions just to hear the truth again. Sometimes on a Sunday feast lecture, somebody's going over some basic stuff, and the advanced devotees just really like to hear that because it's saying it's beautiful. You just enjoy it. It's beautiful again. So, like seeing the deities every day. Don't say, well, I saw them yesterday. You know, it's beautiful every day. So the basic philosophy is beautiful every day. So it's another chance for this to be spoken. And it will be spoken for those to hear. And Srila Vyasadeva, who has spiritual television, is as if there. And he can write it all down in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I think I'm going to stop here.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
fine.
I don't know which of you two was first.
I think I was.
Okay.
So,
That's quick.
that point, that's why I came just then. No, I just want, because it was fresh. So you just said that it's hard to find something exciting to say. Well, about this subject.
It is exciting, but I'm struggling.
No. Well, I just want to point out that I just read a purport, and I think it's in this section. I can find it exactly. But probably saying that this discussion, this type of discussion, for a pure devotee is as relishable as hearing the confidential pastimes. And this point is being driven home constantly by Prabhupada throughout all of these, first, second, third canto. It's regularly being, like there was a purport, I think at the end of the last chapter, where Prabhupada was saying that here, these questions that was being asked at that time by Madhava-priya to Sukadev, because now Sukadev is referring to this series of questions by Narada Muni. He said it's the same, when you're discussing the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe, it's the same transcendental pleasure as kissing the Lord by the gopis.
Which reminds me of something. I'm struggling to say anything. But anyways, I agree totally with what you say. Thank you.
I was just trying to encourage that what you're saying is exciting.
Okay, thanks. So I remember I might have said this before, way back in New Goloka, Garuda Prabhu, the Prabhupada disciple Garuda, would come there sometimes. I guess he lived nearby or something. I don't remember. He would come sometimes and give class.
He lived in Virginia.
Always really good classes. And I asked him this question one time. I said, if we're not supposed to have jnana yoga we're supposed to be above, beyond karma yoga and jnana yoga in our bhakti yoga, why is there so much jnana that's being given to us all the time? Where are we supposed to read all this jnana? I wondered if it was contradictory. And he said, for the devotee, this knowledge becomes poetry. So that went right to my heart. It answered everything. So it's just like Maharaj Parikshit when he asked about the universe. Not because he was curious and wanted to stay longer. He just wanted to see what Krishna did. He wanted to hear about what Krishna did. It's all poetry. It's all glorifying Krishna. Actually, Krishna Shaya had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, then you.
Not that he's been waiting.
Huh?
He was waiting a long
Yeah, he's always first. As soon as I start to say, well, I'll stop it. Yeah, okay.
I think it was in the 15th chapter where it said that those of less intelligence worship the demigod, but they do so in the wrong way. And that's not...
Worship me. No, they worship the demigods worship only me, but they do it in the wrong way.
Right. Worship, exactly.
Yeah, just
And so
Yeah,
it's
that's
not.
just-
So it's not like it. It's not like the teaching is that you can worship a demigod and just hang out there. But if someone's worshiping a demigod, they'll eventually
The
hopefully
idea
rise
is that
up,
they should elevate and eventually
elevate up,
worship Krishna.
and then they'll learn that you're actually really worshiping Krishna anyway.
Everything comes with a downside. Everything comes with it. Maya's right there every step until you're all the way up to prema. There's still some trace of the mode, some trace of influences.
And
Anarta's left. Maya's there trying to, testing you, trying to get you. So there's always a downside to everything. You can worship the demigods and just be stuck there. And then go back down.
That's what I appreciate about Prabhupada. It might have been in the purport that he actually said that you don't want to get stuck. You're worshiping Krishna because your worship goes to Krishna eventually. But it's not that, I condone this.
Yeah.
And you can just have a Shiva lingam and just
Yeah,
hang out on the
yeah,
Shiva.
No,
You're
it's-
worshiping Krishna, so it's okay.
It's
No,
not taking
okay.
it's not spiritual benefit. It's just something that improves your readiness for it.
Right.
If you don't directly get spiritual benefit, even though you're worshiping Krishna, but in a wrong way, it doesn't give you spiritual benefit to worship the demigods. You have to do it according to the instructions of the spiritual master how to worship Krishna. Okay, Jayapati?
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that people who worship the demigods lose their intelligence. And when Prabhupada was on 26 Second Avenue, they asked him if they could, neophytes asked Prabhupada, could they worship Ganesh? And he said, you can worship Ganesh if you can afford to spend $25,000 per week on such worship.
Sri Devi?
On this question of demigod worship, one of the early disciples, he went up to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna. So just as we have all the disciplic succession on the altar, we should have Shiva also and we should worship him. And Srila Prabhupada just looked and looked and looked at him and he said, no! And then afterwards, the devotee of course cowered in fright and ran away, and then later on the other devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the explanation? He's saying, because you're so attached to sense gratification that you start worshipping Shiva to fulfill all your material desires and completely lose the chance for this most priceless gift of going back to Golok Vrindavan. So our minds are so fickle and we are so weak and so fallen in this age that, we are like children, any little glittering toy, we'll run after that. Our senses are so, we are just very weak in this manda sumanda matayu, in this age of Kali. So any little thing is enough to distract us. Then what to speak of, you start worshipping, the demigod Shiva, and then you start asking for all sorts of things. And then you get them. The worst part is when you get them. And then that's even more of a challenge because now you have the responsibility to use these gifts responsibly and not let it go to your head, which is an even bigger challenge. So really one has to be so fixed up in bhakti before all these things can come. Otherwise they will just distract us and take us away.
But wouldn't it be true that somebody who's at least worshiping somebody higher than, at least willing to admit there's somebody higher than himself,
Yes.
is practice for it that may purify him to a certain degree that's why the whole culture is there. But like I said, there's a downside. Maya's right along the way. Okay, you think you're elevating, and how about this? How about this? So I think Mahatma next. I'm not sure.
Same case with other religions, Christian Catholics. They get stuck.
Yeah.
They get a little benefit. They are going somewhere. But we're not saying, okay, stay where you are. We're saying, move on.
Yeah.
Read Bhagavad Gita, read other more advanced books. And Prabhupada said we're not preaching to the believers. That's what he said, because these people at least believe in God and they believe in something else, like the demigod worshippers. They know in their heart that there is something higher and above. But because of what Mataji was saying just now, they just get stuck.
Yeah.
So our duty is to be out there and, wherever we have a chance to actually tell them there is something higher. We have the higher taste, and in that way they can move on before they move on, when they leave the body to the Patalalokas or somewhere else.
And they get stuck on salvation. The salvation means you're not going to hell. You're going to a nice place, and they get stuck on that. It's the whole thing. They have to focus on that.
And definitely all those religions and all the demigods, it's always for material benefits, all of them. There is nothing that says,
Well, liberation, you have to really define how liberation. Liberation, it can be for being with God, or it can be for freedom from suffering. It could be it depends on the individual's heart. In Christianity, because they blend it up, mix it all together. They don't know the difference between the spiritual world and the heavenly planets. So they mix it, and it just depends on what's in the person's heart. Do they really want to go and love God, or do they want to go someplace where they don't have to go to hell? So.
Well, I didn't use the word liberation. I'm thinking material benefit in the sense that they go to church, they want to be good,
Yeah, well,
they want to represent themselves in society. It's a
well, there's
complete...
more than that. It depends on the individual. As I
Different.
say, in a church, there's all range, and you only can look in a person's heart. They don't really know the distinctions too well, so it just depends on what's in a person's heart. So some
It
just
always
don't.
depends on the person's heart, always.
Yeah, but
Even among the
I mean, they
Buddhists.
don't know the distinctions.
Yeah.
So some are thinking I want benefit in this life, and some are thinking I want liberation from hell, and some are thinking I want to love God. And it's all, they don't have a distinction, so they don't know exactly how they should separate these out.
Because knowledge is not there.
Yeah, now
To the rich.
Yeah. Yes. Over there.
Well, I was going to say something about that
Oh,
too. And like you were saying, it depends on what church or what school, whatever I was raised in Catholic school. And my Catholic school was so different compared to so many other Catholic schools. The people that I talked to that were raised in Catholicism, ours was definitely based on the saints. And, the first commandment, love and serve God with your whole body, mind, heart, and soul. It was definitely directed like that in our school, our teachings and things like that. I don't know very many Catholics that went through a school like that, though. That's a fact. But I was thinking about what you were saying, how like nowadays people, it doesn't matter who or what is God. Anybody, any thing can be God. And I never heard anything like that until like the whole yoga movement moved into the United States, because that brought along impersonalism and so many other things with it too. But I was at a opening one time for a healing center, and this lady said, I'm just inviting everyone to come to such and such person meeting at such and such place, and he is going to help us all understand how we are all God.
Well, yeah, that's anything and that's anybody, everything. And
Everybody and anything, yeah.
But when I say, well, it was Prabhupada who said anything and everything, it was in the purport. But anyway, when I say like the Christians are impersonalists, they're not personalists like we are.
Right.
They are, it depends on, there's individual variation, and they have, I used to say, well, I don't know, God has a form, or at one point I thought, seems like in the Bible God has a form, which was puzzling about that. And then, but then a lot of times it's like he's everywhere, which is formless, but he's got emotions of a person. He cares, he worries, tries to save us and stuff. So it was, and he gets angry. So it's some impersonal everything, but with the emotions of a person. So it's not totally impersonal.
Well, that's they say that God was made, we are made in the image and likeness of God. So
it
it's
depends
not
on,
impersonal.
But sometimes they say, okay, that means the emotions, the feelings, and not the looks. I mean, they have all these different levels of rationalizations and opinions and stuff, because they don't have knowledge like we have. They don't have personalism like we have.
Right.
But they have some, but it varies in degree. Sometimes it's quite impersonal. So, yeah.
I was listening to one of the Mormon priests saying about polygamists and why he was doing it, and he was explaining that it's his duty, God is telling him what to do, and
The Mormon, you said?
Yeah, their command. That's their command.
for all these women to be protected
Polygamous,
and to have all these children and this and that. And then all the families together, like 32 kids and I don't know how many wives like that. So they go to their worship, and he stands in front of them, and there is nothing there. Nothing, no images, nothing, So how could you be listening from God if you don't even know how he looks like or how he is represented or anything like that? I'm representing God.
In these days, this I'm protecting all these women turns out to be all these women are protecting him, because he can't support all the women. The women are getting jobs or something like that, and they're supporting their families.
Or food stamp.
Yeah, or food stamps or something. She did.
And on this, going back to the very first comment that Gokul Ranjan Prabhu made about, exciting, Srila Prabhupada writes, I think in the introduction to all the Srimad Bhagavatams, that, this is as sweet as sugar candy. Wherever you bite it, it's sweet. So when we churn the nectar like this, like the discussion, it becomes sweeter and sweeter. And then to my mind, Radhanath Maharaj's statement, he says, this is my sense gratification. Chanting is my sense gratification. Hearing the pastimes of the Lord is my sense gratification. Harinam Sankirtan is my sense gratification. So for devotees, this is the only thing we have, because we know very well the other path is leading to destruction and we don't want to go there. So for us, this is nectar.
Yeah, I feel like I should retract my statement. I'm sorry I said that, but it's just me struggling.
That's okay. We are all.
There are too many classes in a row.
Well, this was more understandable for me, like the one you did before on Sunday. When you did it?
Sunday?
So this one I understand a little
Better
bit
than
better.
Sunday?
Yeah, that one was a little bit tricky for me.
Okay, well, I guess it all depends what connects with somebody.
Yeah.
Before I call, is there anybody else I've been overlooking? I can't always see the hand. Okay.
Prabhu, you have a question? He is here for the first time on Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, yeah.
Haribo.
Haribo! Danny Prabhu ki jai!
I'm not going to put them on the spot. You can ask a question if
Do
you
you
want,
have a question?
but you are not being required to.
Not at this time.
Okay. Krishna, sorry.
In saying that about the demigods, we have to be careful in ISKCON. There's some slippage sometimes that they allow Shiva lingams, at least on the property, not in the temples, but on the property.
That's a whole discussion.
I had heard, but that's a whole nother day.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful.
Yeah.
I know something about Shiva Lingam. Was that part of the conversation?
It's. I guess we can try. It's a whole discussion of whether sometimes it's. Go ahead.
In Mayapur, I didn't know this, but I just found out when I went the last time. After the vogue is offered to their lordships, actually there's one Shila, his name is Janardhan, that accepts the prashad. It's offered to all the deities, at least on Radhamadava's altar. One Shila, and then after it's been taken by the deities, it's offered to a Shiva lingam in the Pujari area. That's, I don't know how much more he's worshipped. It is worshipped, but that's and Jananivas and Pankajangri Prabhu are there, who are the premier pujaris. In Jagannath Puri also, all of the Lord Jagannath's prashad is offered to I forget her name, but she's an aspect of Parvati, Lord Shiva's consort. So
This kind of thing is okay in a setting where it supports the real meaning of it. Like in Vrindavan, there's a, I didn't even know about this, I didn't go the one time I was there, but there is a Lord Shiva, is it Shiva Lingam or what? Some form of Lord Shiva who is there, who is the gate. I think
the protector of the Dham, actually.
But he's the protector of the Dham. Okay, the protector.
Are the protectors of the Dham, Lord Shiva. He has a certain name.
You're supposed to go there first, which I didn't know about. And then you understand that he's protecting. You understand the background story, what he wanted to see Krishna. He wanted something.
That's a different one. He also wanted to be a gopi, and so he was allowed to take that form. And Gopeshwari, I think that's his name as a gopi, but he has another name as a protector of the Dham.
But we have to know in the setting that supports the meaning of this. Like in Mayapur, if it's understood, the meaning is understood in the position of Lord Shiva. But I wouldn't think we should do anything like this in the West.
Well, I heard that it was some type of protector, or the word gate. Maybe this is what they're trying to recreate.
I said gateway. Yeah, but in the West, it's Western, Americans
outside
have enough trouble accepting Krishna without all of a sudden all the demigods.
Well,
have enough trouble with that. And then this yoga thing comes and those, kind of influences. And plus more and more Indians coming might or might not be real Vaishnavas, and more population of them, and they're Hindu temples. So we are not in a strong position to have that kind of thing and know it's going to be supported right. So we should just do it, Prabhupada said, and just do it simple.
Right.
And just keep it Krishna. That's what I think. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Oh, it's the end of verse.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for participating and helping me out in this class. And all grace to Srila Prabhupada, all grace to Srimad Bhagavatam, all grace to the assembled devotees.
Hari